Hey guys, it's Brett. Thanks for dropping by my channel. So it is now almost the middle of June, so I thought, well, this is the perfect time to talk about what I hope to read this month. It's also the middle of June, and I'm sitting here in my house in a grandpa sweater because it is so cold outside. It also looks constantly like it's going to rain, which is typical Los Angeles weather in June gloom. And it is serving it up big time. So let's talk books. All right, first I wanted to just discuss the three things that I'm reading right now that have kind of, I've actually already read some things this month. I was away last week and managed to read a couple of things while I was away, which I'll talk about in one sec. But so currently I'm reading this book, The Boy in the Rain by Stephanie Cowell, and thank you to Regal House Publishing for this. This is set in 1903 in the English countryside, where a young student, a young man, begins to have an affair with a somewhat older man. This is also around the time during Oscar Wilde's Gross Indecency trial, so that's going to probably come into play. It's giving me complete E.M. Forster vibes. And again, I'm only 30 pages in. I'm saying that just on what I've read so far and this cover, but I'm interested to see where this goes, and I'm all for a Edwardian gay romp. So that's that. The other thing, I'm trying to finish both of these books before this Wednesday, the 14th, which is the announcement of the winner of the Women's Prize. They are Black Butterflies by Priscilla Morris. This is set in Sarajevo in 1992, and a woman whose family leaves before the fighting in the city gets too intense. She is left there. She decides to stay with the intention to try to get out later and then can't, and what happens. It's really good. I'm finding it hard to put down, actually. I've only got about 70 pages left, so I might finish it tonight. But I'm really, really liking this one. The other one, which I'm trying to rush through, no pun intended, is Fire Rush by Jacqueline Brooks. I'm going to say rush through. I started this on audio. I'm doing this on audio too because someone had said to me, it's has a lot of music in it because it's the whole underground reggae scene, and it does, and it's really good. And the woman who reads it is great. And I don't know her name off the top of my head. I'm not far enough into this at all to really give a full play-by-play on what I think, but I am enjoying it. That said, the only thing I'm not going to get to of that group is Pod. I'm not going to have time. And I do have to say, as much as I'm really enjoying Black Butterflies, for me, Trespasses is still my favorite book from this list, although I still think probably Demon Copperhead is going to get it. So that's what I think. All right, June. 4 books that I've already read and liked them all in various degrees, but I did like them all. The first one was Farrell, Covington, and the Limits of Style by Paul Rudnick. I've always enjoyed Paul Rudnick. I think he's hilarious. This is a little more serious. It definitely is funny, and his wit is razor sharp per usual. But this follows a man who, and his relationship with this other man named Farrell Covington, but it covers almost 40 years, and it goes from New York to Paris to Yale to New York City to Italy. And it's covering a big time period from like the 60s almost up through, or the early 70s up through almost current day. So I really, 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 really enjoyed it. And perhaps it's because I'm not too far off from these characters' ages that I really kind of tapped in. But I enjoyed this one a lot. The other book that I have a hard copy of is Big Gay Wedding by Byron Lane. This is Byron Lane's 2nd book, his first being A Stars Board, which was based on, loosely based on his experience while working as Carrie Fisher's assistant. It's kind of that story, but it's all fictionalized, right? So this is not anything to do with any of that. This is about a guy who goes home to his mom in Louisiana, a very small town, to announce that he's going to get married and he wants to have the wedding there. His fiance's family is from New York. It's been crossed, pitched as like Schitt's Creek meets Father of the Bride. And that's not too far from the truth. I liked this, didn't like this as much as his first book. I like what he's doing with this. I like the message of this book. I think this book is appealing to a lot of people. And it's very positive, and it's all about, it's about people having their opinions changed. And so much of the book and what worked for me centers not on the guys as much as on the guy's mother and her kind of grappling with this and her coming, to acceptance. And that's what I liked a lot about this book. So that was Big Gay Wedding. Then I read Countries of Origin by Javier Fuentes. This is a debut novel. I loved this book. It's about a young man who's an illegal immigrant who's living in Manhattan, who's been living with his uncle. He works as a very talented pastry chef at a prestigious restaurant in New York City. Through a series of events, he knows that he's about to be deported, so he makes the decision to go back to his homeland, which is Spain. He's from Madrid. While on the plane, he's seated next to a young man who is also from Madrid, who is a student at NYU and is going home for the summer. Well, this relationship between the two of them develops. The book is so sensual. I don't want to go into a full description here. I would rather do it at the end of the month, but I loved this book. Beautiful writing. It reminded me a lot of the Richard Linklater film Before Sunrise. And I just thought it was really beautiful. And I keep using the word when I've been describing this to people, sensual. And that's what it was. He's so descriptive in food and place and environment, all of it. Really good. And then the other book that I just finished that I listened to on audio was All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby, his new book. This is fantastic. And all I'll say is, if you are looking for a thriller this summer, I would highly recommend this. I'm not going to lie to you and say it is intense, it's brutal, it's violent. But this is S.A. Cosby's now fourth book. This is my favorite of everything he's written. I feel like everything he's been doing has come to this moment. He's addressing, it's about a black sheriff in a very southern town. And it starts with a school shooting, but that's not the real story. The real story is the teacher that was killed in the school shooting. Turns out he was part of a ring, a trio of men who were abducting and murdering young black children in the town, and how the sheriff sets about finding him. Or finding the one other killer. It's, oh my God, it's really good. The narrator is excellent. So really good. I'll talk more about that at the end of the month, but really, really, really good. Okay, so moving on to some of the books that I'm hoping to cover this month. The first is Samantha Irby's Quietly Hostile. Samantha Irby, she, has written these series of essays. This is another one. I think she is so hilarious. I discovered her during the lockdown pandemic, read her first two books, and she is balls to the wall funny, completely unapologetic, sometimes incredibly crude, squirmy, but So funny. So I'm really excited about this. If any of those things seem to appeal to you, check out Samantha Irby. All right, next, I've heard a lot about this book, Juno Loves Legs by Karl Geary. The thing that's kind of resonated with me the most, it said for fans of Shuggie Bain. This is about two Irish kids, both of whom are kind of outcasts. They're in the same housing estate. Juno, the girl, has kind of been ostracized for being so poor, poverty, and Legs, which is the nickname for Sean, has been ostracized because of his homosexuality. And it's about their relationship. And it looks so good. I wish I had the British cover because I really love that cover so much. But at any rate, I'm really excited to read this. I don't know if any of you read it, but it sounds great. Next, The Late Americans by Brandon Taylor. This is about a group of friends and lovers in Iowa City. So I don't know beyond that too much. I don't want to know too much about it. I mean, he's an autobi author for me. I think he's crazy talented, so we'll see. This, and thank you to FSG for this, The Sullivanians by Alex Sex, Psychotherapy and the Wildlife of an American Commune by Alexander Stille. Okay, this sounds fascinating. I have to read you this one. In the middle of the Ozzie and Harriet 1950s, the birth control pill became available, and a maverick psychoanalytical institute, the Sullivan Institute for Research and Psychoanalysis, opened its doors in New York City. Its founders wanted to start a revolution, one grounded in ideals of creative expression, sexual liberation, and freedom from societal norms, and the revolution needed to begin at home. Dismantling the nuclear family and monogamous marriage would free kids from the repressive forces of their parents. The movement attracted many brilliant people as patients, including the painter Jackson Pollock and a swarm of other artists, the singer Judy Collins and the dancer Lucinda Childs. By the 60s, it had become an urban commune of hundreds of people with patients living with other patients, leading a creative, polyamorous life. But by the mid-70s, under the leadership of its co-founder, Saul Newton, it devolved from a radical communal experiment into an insular cult, with therapists controlling virtually every aspect of their patients' lives, from where they lived to how often they saw their children. Although the group was highly secretive, even after its dissolution in 1991, Alexander Stille has reconstructed the inner life of this hidden parallel world. Through countless interviews and personal papers, The Sullivanians reveals the nearly unbelievable story of a fallen utopia in the middle of New York City. Sounds good, right? All right, for another, for the thriller people out there, Drowning by TJ Newman. I didn't read her first one, Falling, but this is about a plane crash. 10 minutes into the flight, goes down into the ocean. One of the engines explodes, and water begins to breach the inside of the plane. The 12 survivors have to figure out how to survive. It's supposed to be like edge of your seat, can't put it down. I think I said before I absolutely was not going to take this with me on my flight when I went away. But there we go, Drowning. And thank you to Avid Reader Press for this copy. All right, another kind of fun rom-com, Best Men by Sydney Karger. This is basically about a gay guy whose best friend gets married. At the wedding, he meets the groom's best friend, and the two of them strike up a relationship. So, there you go. Yeah. Okay. And thank you to Berkeley for this. Last two. I know I talked about this before. The Celebrants by Stephen Rowley. I love Stephen Rowley. This is his kind of answer or version of The Big Chill, about a group of friends who, when any of them are feeling shitty about their lives, they get together to talk about to kind of check in, and they have a celebration of their lives. And I think that the whole thing is going to hinge on one of them has a big secret. Probably means, well, let's just take a guess that maybe one of them is sick. Anyway, I loved the Guncle. I love Stephen Rowley, and so I'm really excited about this one. And last thing that I'm going to try to get to this month is The Endless Vessel by Charles Soule. To read you a little bit about this. A few years from now, in a world similar to ours, there exists a depression plague that people refer to simply as the Gray. No one can predict whom it will afflict or how, but once infected, there's no coming back. A young Hong Kong-based scientist, Lily Barnes, is trying to maintain her inner light in an increasingly dark world. The human race is dwindling, and people fighting to push forward are increasingly rare. One day, Lily comes across something that seems to be addressing her directly, calling to her, asking her to follow a path to whatever lies at its end. Is this the endless vessel to happiness? She leaves her life behind and sets out through time and space to find out. From its opening heart-stopping scene in the present day at the Louvre in Paris, through the earthly meetings between Lily and her loved ones past and present, to a shocking and satisfying conclusion, and a truly enchanting forest, Charles Soule has channeled history, science, and drama to create a story for the ages, a story of hope and love and possibility. This is a novel that you won't soon forget. The Endless Vessel. All right, so that is my group. Let me know if you've read any of those, or if you're planning to read any of those, or if any of those seem interesting to you. I'm going to check back in a few days or next week with some book mail that I've got, some of which looks interesting. And then before you know it, this month will be over. Also, again, a reminder that the Women's Prize announcement, for those of you who are interested, will be on Wednesday. And then next up, we'll be looking at the Booker announcement will be coming soon, the long list. So, all right, I hope you all are having a great week wherever you are. Thanks for dropping by. And if you like what you've seen here, please click like and subscribe below. Thanks.